Greetings. Hello! My name is Helena, and this is a video, a portion of my Postmodernism Project for Honors English 332. I will be analyzing Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss and What If by Shel Silverstein in a postmodernism sense. Throughout this video, I will be answering 9 objective questions pertaining to postmodernism, and I will be explaining how Oh, the Places You'll Go and What If pertain to those questions. The first question pertains to religion in the postmodernism literary period. Religion in postmodernism also was affected by individualism. Individualism was a very large part of postmodernism. People were tired of conforming and doing all the same things as everyone else because everyone said they had to. And with religion, people began to branch out. And some people support religion. Some people completely anti-religion, say their evolution is the answer, or maybe we just ended up here. Some people say, I'm Switzerland, I'm not going to go either way. Religion exemplifies how people like to do their own thing and like to have their own opinions throughout postmodernism. What If is an example of this. What If, you can see it below, is, I'll read some excerpts so you can get the feel of it. What if I'm dumb in school? What if they've closed the swimming pool? What if I get beat up? What if there's poison in my cup? What if I start to cry? What if I get sick and die? The poem pertains a lot of what ifs, basically. And religion, a possible stance on religion, is a lukewarm religion. You maybe participate Sundays, maybe go to the occasional Bible study, but you don't fully believe because what if I'm wrong? What if people judge me? What if people say this? It's that possible mindset is very iffy. Like the poem, What If? What If pertains to postmodernism religion because of the mindset that it shows that religion can possibly have of an in-between state, a lukewarm state of, I'm not really sure, I'm figuring it all out, what if? Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss has a very different feel from the poem What If by Shel Silverstein. What If is a very questioning poem. It questions all the little things in life. It questions the future. Are good things going to happen or bad things going to happen? But Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss is a much more, you are to this point, you have possibly fallen to a rut, or maybe you're at a high point, but either way you gotta keep going. Here's an excerpt to slightly explain. This excerpt is a very popular quote of Dr. Seuss. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who will decide where to go. What If by Shel Silverstein, whereas it is the questioning side, the part of your life where you're not sure, you think of all the little things, you lay in bed at night and question, what if I get poisoned? What if the pool's not open? So on and so forth, all the little things. Whereas Dr. Seuss in this story is exclaiming, you don't need to wonder what if. In religion, you don't need to question, am I going to be judged? Is this going to be good enough? Will I be different enough, so to speak? It's saying, religion, another stance in religion is also that of, you're doing it on your own. You don't really care what is going to knock you down, what is going to bring you up. You know what you believe, you trust in what you believe, and you're going to exclaim it. And Oh, the Places You'll Go is a good example of postmodernism religion because of the stance that it takes, as opposed to what ifs take. The next question is that of how figurative language fits into postmodernism and how my two literary pieces fit into postmodernism figurative language. Figurative language during postmodernism began to get very vast in literary devices, such as metaphors, onomatopoeia, similes, personification, etc., etc. People began to use analogies. They began to use just examples to give people visuals. An example of this would be some personification in What If by Shel Silverstein. Last night, while I was thinking here, some what ifs crawled inside my ear, and pranced and partied all night long and sang their same old what if song. This is an example of personification. The author, Shel Silverstein, is personifying what ifs, the questions that float inside your head and make you wonder if you're good enough or if you're going to start to cry and get sick and die. Those. And it personifies it by saying that it prances and parties all night long. Personification is giving unhumanoid things, people, traits, and characteristics. What ifs aren't people, yet they're prancing and partying. So that is an example of postmodernism figurative language. An example of postmodernism figurative language in Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss can be found in this excerpt. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at a breaking neck pace and grind on for miles across weirdest wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. This is a visualization, I suppose you could say, a metaphor, otherwise. This is comparing the place in your life when you get to when you just don't know what to do, you're confused, you're saying, what if, what if, what if? And then you begin to just do all kinds of wrong things that are not for you, not necessarily illegal by any means, but all the wrong things for you specifically. And you begin to race around and get confused, and then you find yourself in the waiting place. This is an example of a metaphor because it compares two unlike things and finds a way to connect them, such as a confused chicken with its head cut off to someone who simply doesn't know what to do with themselves in life. Nature! The next postmodern question pertains to nature and how it fits into postmodernism. Well, nature is everywhere, especially in literature. Nature has been an inspiration of literature since time began, back in the primitive eras. Nature is so ever-changing, but yet ever-constant at the same time. We will always have nature, no matter what state it's in. Something so constant, how can writers not use it as inspiration and put it into their literature? Through postmodernism literature, or nature, however, our human lifestyles have vastly changed how we view nature. We see nature more as of a purpose, a use to better our lives, to make our wooden floors, and to cut down to make energy sources, and to cut down to clear space for our extravagant houses and such, etc., etc. That nature has begun to change over time into more of a negative state because of how humans have treated it. And because of the change that has occurred, writers have begun to write about that change. And that is how nature fits into postmodernism as of now. Of course, nature is ever evolving and therefore can change, but as I said, nature is always present in literature. It's not necessarily explicitly stated in every piece of literature ever, but it occurs a lot. An example in What If by Shel Silverstein. What if the fish won't bite? What if the wind tears up my kite? This is just showing, it's a simplistic statement within a pretty simple poem, but it still is evident, still shown within the poem. It shows how nature is always there, how it's just present, even in the simplest ways in literature. Nature can be seen in a slightly less explicit way in Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. But if you dig deep, as you always should with Dr. Seuss, you can still find it. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. This is, as I mentioned, personifying earlier in figurative language. This is birdifying of humans. This is just giving an example of birds in nature and how humans view them. Writers have always seen them, along with all people, because birds are everywhere. But we see them, they're able to fly, and we envy that. We envy nature in its simplistic, organic ways, that they can do things we can't. They have photosynthesis, they can fly, they can live and have longer lives, and cold-blooded animals and such. And we envy what we can't have. And nature a lot of times has what we can't have. And this is giving a human saying, shoot for the moon, or whatever quote you want to put in there, whatever corny quote. But to not believe that you can't fly, but to see what nature has provided and see what birds can do and shoot for that, because there's no point in not setting goals for yourself. This applies to postmodernism nature because of how it sees nature and how it uses nature in its poem. If I wasn't analyzing this, I probably wouldn't have even thought how that pertains to nature. But it just goes to show how postmodernist writers just kind of stick it in there. You don't even see nature as much anymore because it's not as much of a focal point. It's still obviously there, but writers more so, you have to look for it. You don't just see it anymore. Postmodernism. The next question on the agenda of this postmodernism video is that of human nature. Both of these poems are simply saturated within human nature and just typical human nature. And what if, it's in the name, What If by Shel Silverstein. Humans are, I don't want to say hardwired, because you can always change how you think and your personality and such, but generally everyone's personality and thought process at some point, probably more frequently than we'd like to admit, goes through the question of what if? What if? Here's some examples of what ifs. What if I'm dumb in school? What if they've closed the swimming pool? What if I get beat up? What if there's poison in my cup? What if I start to cry? What if I get sick and die? What if I flunk that test? What if green hair grows out of my chest? They're all such simple questions, but humans tend to look at the little things, I suppose you could say. We miss the big picture. And in postmodernism, that has definitely evolved over time. People are allowed to think smaller, on a smaller scale, where children and the working age has gone up higher. You don't have to worry about things until you're older. You don't have to worry about what am I going to eat, where am I going to live, how am I going to support my family at the age of 15. And we grow up thinking more so of the little things and worrying more about ourselves and our little things. That has happened through postmodernism. Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss shows human nature a little differently than What If. Here's an excerpt. It's a little long, but you can live. Oh, the places you'll go, there's fun to be done. There are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and the magical things you can do with all the ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame, you'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you on TV. Except for when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll be lonely games too. Games you can't win, 'cause you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone will be something. You'll be quite a lot. Now this is slightly sad. I'm sorry. I don't like being sad either. But it shows, this is a lot more mature view of human nature than most poems of that sort. The author is showing us that we expect to always win. We expect that good things are going to happen, which isn't necessarily a bad mindset. If you always are thinking bad things are going to happen, then bad things are probably going to happen. But he's also showing us that you can't go through with human nature of everything's going to happen for me, I don't really have to work that hard, I don't really need to worry about it, whereas bad things can happen, and bad things will happen at times in life. And it's in our human nature to resist that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either, but we have to be ready for it as well, and humans a lot of times are not. And that's whenever the worst things happen, whenever we're not prepared for the bad things, and those bad things turn into worse things. Postmodernism, like the mindset, the human nature of postmodernism, shown in Oh, the Places You'll Go, is that we don't expect the bad, whereas we should. And Dr. Seuss exemplifies that and shows us that fear is, you don't need to fear, but you need to be prepared. On to our next question. Government and society in postmodernism. Government and society can be found within Whatif in one particular line. It's quite simple. What if nobody likes me? That is a question that everyone asks at some point. Government cannot be found as explicitly within Whatif. Whatif is much more of an immature poem. Not saying it's any lesser of literature, but it's a lot more simpler, which is how humans think. I think we overcomplicate things a lot, and this poem exemplifies what really goes on in our head, even though we won't admit it. This does show society, though. Society's overall question is, what if nobody likes me? As humans, we want to be accepted. We want to be individuals, especially during postmodernism. A very large part of postmodernism is being individuals. But we also want to be accepted. We want to be different, but we want people to accept the fact that we're different and to praise us for being different. This line exemplifies that in What If by Shel Silverstein. It exemplifies postmodernism society because of what if nobody likes me? What if I do branch out and I am different, but society doesn't accept that? An example of government and society within Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss is found within the poem, which I will read in a few seconds. But it addresses the fact of we all want to be the best. Everyone in society, and everyone especially in government, wants to be the best. Government campaigns, and we have voting, and we vote to see who we like the best. That relates back to What If Nobody Likes Me and What If by Shel Silverstein. Through society, we always want to be the best, though. And here in this poem, it shows. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang, and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. This poem is not of what has happened, but what should happen, what the writer sees for whoever he's writing to, whatever he thinks should happen. And he's encouraging whoever he's writing to shoot for that, to be the best. This isn't so much as in a cocky sense of society. A lot of society is cocky and wants to be the best for purposefully of simply being the best, not because of the good they want to do or the bad they want to smush out. This poem, however, exemplifies doing your best and succeeding in society and overpassing those who won't try as hard as you. Postmodernism society, people want to be the best and they want to do their best, and Oh, the Places You Go exemplifies it. Next. Oh, say, can you, American dream, the American dream. The American dream during postmodernism was the want for individualism. During modernism period, literature period, people were assimilated. They were conformed. People were expected to do things a certain way. Desks in classrooms were put in straight lines. People down streets walked in straight lines. Kids were dressed in starchy, ironed clothes. Everyone was expected to look the same way, to act the same way. Immigrants that were flooding into America at that time were expected to conform to American society. So we've reached a time now into postmodernism where people don't want to be the same anymore. They want to be individuals. And that is shown in the American dream of people striving to break away from being assimilated. The postmodernism American dream is not exemplified too great in Whatif by Shel Silverstein. It is still a postmodernist piece, of course, but it is a congregation of what-ifs, which infer to wanting to be the same. What if I'm not the same as everyone else? What if I do have green chest hair and my pants rip and I die from poison in my cup? What if I'm different from people? So it does exemplify postmodernism in multiple areas, but the American dream is not exemplified too great within Whatif by Shel Silverstein. But it is in Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. This is my ringtone. This shows the determination of the American dream in the postmodernism period. People were determined to hike far, to keep going. This is also an example of figurative language, of a metaphor of hiking compared to life. Postmodernism American dream is that of individualism and striving to succeed and keep going. And Generation X. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hacking cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. This excerpt from Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss exemplifies the American postmodernism dream because of the determination it exemplifies. People wanted to be different. People wanted to work hard and get somewhere in life. They didn't want to have to take up their dad's business that he started and his grandpa ran and his great-grandpa ran. They don't want to sew like their mom or have to be a garbage man because that's what their social class tells them to be. Generation X during this time is a generation of people who want to work hard, who want to get somewhere because of how hard they work. They want to be different and to do their own thing. And this excerpt from Oh, the Places You Go by Dr. Seuss exemplifies that in how hard the writer is telling the person to work, to be different, and to make their own life, and to make themselves something. It's really dark. That's better. Heroes! Postmodernist literature was about individualism, as I've said multiple times before. A way that writers strived to be individuals was how heroes were portrayed. The postmodernist hero was that of a person who did right things for the wrong reasons. Heroes, all up until postmodernists, were typical goody two-shoes guys who did all of the right things just because they knew it was right and stuff. Boring. Once we get to postmodernist literature, writers alike, they agree with me that it's boring, and begin to create new heroes that are rebellious and no longer like any other hero that came before them. They begin to do things for themselves, not because it's the right thing to do or because it's saving someone, but because they'll get something out of it. Both of my pieces that I chose are pretty lighthearted. and pretty positive pieces, and neither of them really have a storyline necessarily, like a beginning, middle, and end. It is difficult to find a hero within each work, or even a protagonist, really, or an antagonist for that matter, to antagonize the protagonist. So, basically I'm getting at that there isn't really a postmodernist hero displayed in either of my pieces. Yeah. I'm sorry. They exemplify a lot of other postmodernist literature characteristics, though. Not just themes, but common themes. Not just common themes, but common themes between Whatif by Shel Silverstein and Oh the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. The biggest common theme I have found between Whatif by Shel Silverstein and Oh the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss is that of question. Of the point in one's life when you come to a point where you have decisions and choices and what ifs, like in Whatif by Shel Silverstein. Shel Silverstein's poem, as we've discussed, is a collection of what ifs, of someone laying in bed at night wondering, oh dear gosh, what about this and that and green chest hair and all of these little things in school and And then we see in Oh the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. This is longish. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbows and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind-maker upper to make up his mind. The end is coming. Why did literature change over time? That is the question at hand. Literature is dependent ultimately on one thing, and that is the people that write it, the writers and authors of it. And the thing about people and writers and authors is they are ever changing. People in society will never stay the same. Some people may stay pretty concrete in their ways, but eventually their generations that follow them will change. Technology is ever changing because the humans that create it are ever changing and ever learning and growing. Nature is ever changing because the humans and people that grow it and affect it and determine if it can be somewhere or if they're going to destroy it are ever changing and ever changing their minds. Everything is always changing in this world, but ultimately, who decides that? People. People decide that. Therefore, the literature of this earth in this time is determined by those people. And because those people are constantly ever growing and evolving and changing and learning and growing and gaining knowledge and figuring out how to do this worse or figuring out how to do this better, the way they write literature is constantly evolving as well. The themes and the characters and ideas and the heroes and the religion and the nature and so on and so forth, and human nature and ideas and psychology are always going to be changing because humans are always going to be learning. Always, 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 always. And ultimately, humans are the writers and the creators of literature. The end is drawing nearer. Both of these poems, Whatif by Shel Silverstein and Oh the Places You Go by Dr. Seuss, are both poems that assess normal human problems. People are always going to be questioning what if, and we're always going to be questioning the small things. But we're also always going to be needing an extra push, needing Dr. Seuss to tell us that we have brains in our head and feet in our shoes, and that we can do whatever we choose. Both of these authors, the life that they lived, both affected their works because of how positive and how in touch they were with human questions and human nature. Both authors were able throughout their life to write countless poems that were easily felt by humans and easily understood and empathized human nature and human problems. Shel Silverstein realized that there are kids in this world that wonder if they're going to grow green chest hair. And he realized that people are questioning that, and that his literature could reflect that, and that he could answer those questions. And Dr. Seuss took on a positive aspect of literature, and his life affected that by his positivity, and is shown in his literature in countless poems. He is positive and takes a more positive outlook on life and looks at a glass half full, and that was how he lived his life and how it reflected into his poetry.
The end has come.